all right, turn around, put your hands behind your back.
Oh, no.
At this point, I felt those cold handcuffs go on my wrist, and I was like, oh, shit, I'm going to jail.
You cannot let the idea of perfect hold you back from getting good. You have to be willing to go. You have to be willing to try. You have to be willing to learn. And by doing that, you're going to get closer and closer and closer to what you are meant to be and to your potential. What's up, guys? Welcome to our channel, or welcome back to our channel. My name is Taylor.
And I'm Jeff.
We love starting these podcast style episodes with just kind of like hanging out and talking and sharing a story from our life. And I asked the people what they wanted, and everyone voted that they wanted to hear how Jeff got arrested in college. They wanted to hear that story.
It's pretty funny.
Especially, Jeff was a cop, and he worked in a jail. What is that called? Correctional officer?
Yeah.
So he worked in corrections and as a full-time police officer. But before that, he went to jail in college. And this story also involves my first college party. So what a fun night.
Yeah, it was. It was a fun. I mean, we're going to get right into it, or what? What do you think?
Yeah, I say we jump right in. I say we jump right into
All right.
The story and go from there.
It was my sophomore year.
Of college.
Yeah,
so
freshman
I
year.
had just started college. Mm-hmm. This was like the first couple of weeks of school. We didn't really know a whole lot of people just yet. Or
Yeah.
I didn't,
I met a couple people, but there were a couple people there that I knew from my brother. My older brother had some friends there that I'd met. Some other people, older guys from our high school, had gone to the same college. So there were a couple guys there that I knew, and they were in fraternities. So I decided my sophomore year.
I love that this story is starting with a fraternity. We were also in a sorority and fraternity, for those of you guys that didn't know.
We had one of our first parties. It was my first fraternity party that I'd really ever been to, and Taylor's first actual college party. I had to get to the party house early to help set up, because that's just part of what happens. So I got to the house way early. It was probably 2 hours early.
Yeah, because
you dropped me off.
I dropped him off because I didn't know if we were both going in, and of course they wanted to kind of do their own thing, and then we were going to come back. So
yeah.
I dropped him off, and then I went back to meet up with my friends, and then we were going to get ready and go to this party together.
Yeah.
And then I never heard back.
The entire night,
but we'll get there.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I never heard back.
We started drinking as soon as we got there because we're in college and, we're having a college party. So that's what we do. So we started drinking, and we drank quite a bit, had a lot of fun, did some keg stands, did some things like that. And before I know it, the party had actually started. Well, Taylor still hasn't shown up yet.
Because I was... So I was waiting on a text because
right.
Basically when I went there, they were like, hey, this is just for the fraternity brothers first, and then we'll text you. Jeff was like, I'll text you when you can come.
Yeah.
So I didn't know. And again, remember, this is when we first started school. So I only knew my group of friends. So I didn't know anybody else there. So no one could text me and say, okay, you could go ahead and, head in. So I was literally just waiting on a text from Jeff.
Yeah.
And so I was just sitting there waiting for hours.
Yeah, so I at this point was too drunk to text her. So we were, I was hanging out at this party, having fun, and she's just waiting on a text from me. So she never shows up, and I have no sense of time at this point. I don't know what time it is or what time of night it is, what time it is. I'm just she'll show up any moment. And
I'm not coming to this party alone. So should I tell what was kind of happening?
Yeah, so kind of where you're at from this point.
Okay. Basically, I dropped them off. They were like, oh, it's just the, fraternity brothers first. So I was like, no big deal. I went and hung out with my friends. We're kind of pre-gaming a little bit. We're drinking and having fun. And then I'm just waiting on this text, and I'm getting so frustrated. And one of my friends was like, well, there's another party that we can go to while we're waiting.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh,
while
man.
we're waiting for you to get your text. And I was like, no, I'll wait. He'll text me anytime. And this hours and hours and hours go by. And I was like, you know what? I'm not just going to sit and wait all night. I'll go with my friends because they wanted to go. And so I figured, okay, I'll just go with them. And then when he texts me, I'll immediately just leave and go to this other party. We ended up going to another fraternity's party.
Not only another fraternity, but the rival fraternity.
The rival fraternity, which I know nothing at this point. I wasn't even in a sorority yet. And so I go to this party, and I'm walking around. I don't know anybody. And I'm just, spending time with my friends and just still waiting for this text. So we stay at the party for a little bit. Then we get tired and we go back to the dorm rooms. And I still haven't heard from Jeff.
Okay. So at this point,
So I was getting pretty frustrated.
yeah, I'm at this party already pretty much. I wouldn't say I was blackout yet, but I was pretty gone. And so and then there's this knock at the door, and there's a knock at the door, and the cops show up, and they were really cool. They were just like, "Hey, you guys need to turn the music down. It's too loud. It's a little crazy. Like, don't make us come back out here." And then the cops show back up. There's another knock on the door. This time, the homeowner doesn't actually answer the door, but one of the drunk guys at the party answers the door.
That's never good.
Yeah, so he answers the door, and he sees 3 cops standing there, and then
because it was just getting rowdier, right?
yeah, at this point it was a full, like, the backyard was packed with people, the house was packed with people. The guy that opens the door with the cops, they tell him like, "Hey, this is your final warning. You guys, we're gonna shut the party down if you guys don't keep the music down. If we come back out again." So this guy just slams the door in their face, and I don't know if there were any language that was said at that time, but just slamming the door in their face in the first place was not the right move. So they ended up calling pretty much every cop in the available location. There were state troopers, there were county officers, there were city officers, there were campus officers. Like, they had all of them come out. One by one, they start like filing everyone out. And I just remember being lined up along the curb of the road, along some of the vehicles with, I don't know, probably 25 or 30 other people on this side of the street. Like, I'm here trying to stand straight up, like, nervous as hell. Because another fun fact, my older brother at this time, and currently is still active law enforcement. So he's an active police officer in another city like 40 minutes away. So I'm like, okay, this isn't good. I don't know what this is going to do to my brother's reputation, because at this point I've kind of already come to the conclusion, like, I'm probably going to jail. I'm standing there, and the cop gets to the person next to me, and I hear him ask, "Do you have your ID on you?" And the guy's like, "No." And he's like, "Okay, how old are you?" And the guy was like 23 or something. He said some random number. I don't remember what it was. And then it clicked to me. I was like, okay, cool. I don't have my ID on me either. I did, but I was like, I'm just going to tell him I don't, because I'm underage. I'm only 20 at this time. He gets to me, and he's like, "All right, what's your name?" I told him my name, date of birth, all that good stuff. And he's like, "Do you have your ID on you?" "No, I don't." "Okay, how old are you?" And I guess name and date of birth wasn't there yet. But he asked how old I was, and I told him I was 21, and he asked for my date of birth. And I told him that, and then I don't know why, he must have known I was lying, because he went and actually ran my name through the radio.
And you were really drunk, though.
Yeah, he ran my name through the radio, and it came back, that I wasn't 21. I was born in '93, and he asked me again. He was like, "So how old are you?" And then I knew he caught me at this point, so I was like, "I'm only 20." And he was like, "Okay, why'd you lie to me?" And I barely remember this whole situation. And I don't remember what I told him after that. I was just like, I didn't know what to say or whatever. And he's like, "All right, turn around, put your hands behind your back."
Oh no.
At this point, I felt those cold handcuffs go on my wrist, and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm going to jail." And it gets better though. This is pretty funny. So he puts me in handcuffs, and he pulls me away from the crowd, or from the lit line of people, and walks me to the police car. And at this point, one of my brother's best friends, which is another one of my best friends, is there and was supposed to be looking out for me at the party. However, like, I'm an adult. Like, he wasn't supposed to babysit me. He saw me, and he called my brother immediately and told my brother, I was like, "Dude, your brother just went to jail." And I can only imagine what crossed my brother's mind when that happened. But thankfully he did that. So now this guy's put me in the backseat of his car. I'm nervous. I know I'm going to jail. I'm extremely over intoxicated. And he goes to put me in the backseat of his car, and immediately I just puke all inside the backseat of his car, all over the backseat of his car. And then he gets pissed off, and he's like, "What the heck?" And puts me in the car. And as we're driving to the police department as well, I puke like 3 more times in the backseat of his car. I'm just like, really, really letting all this stuff out. Pretty gross. And then when we get to the police station, I'm so drunk. I don't know why he thought this was a good idea, but he decided that it was a good idea to have me clean out his car, clean all the puke out of his car. So he tries to do that. He brings me paper towels and this stuff, and I start trying to pick it up, and I puke again. And this dude had the worst night with me. He was so upset at me because I wasn't only puking in his back seat. Like, I was leaning my head against the cage and like puking through the cage and everything. So like the back of his seat and like, oh yeah, it was everywhere. But he shouldn't have illegally arrested me. So his fault.
That you didn't explain how he illegally
arrested. Yeah, that's what I'm getting to though.
Okay.
So we get there. He books me in. My clothes are covered in puke, and there were, I think, 25 or 30 of us that went to jail that night. So pretty crazy. But so the whole jail is basically booked with people from the party I was at. Yeah. So like we're all like, they're all having a good time, yelling at each other. There's a couple people that are really pissed. I'm so drunk that I'm literally, and now that I know what I know about jails and working in corrections, like they're not the most sanitary place, obviously. But I was like literally so gone that I was laying my arm on the toilet and just asleep on the toilet because I was puking so often. So I didn't really sleep much all night long. Woke up the next morning. My brother showed up. They had to leave me in the jail for 6 hours for detox. And then when I get bailed out, my brother bails me out. I have to put the same clothes back on. I have to change out the jail clothes and put the clothes back on, my jeans, boots. Like, it was one of the worst smells I've ever smelled in my entire life because it was just in a trash bag. It didn't get time to dry or anything. Like they were still damp. It was disgusting. So I had to ride 45 minutes home in those nasty clothes. So now, the reason I say that I personally believe this was not a correct arrest is because, number one, we were at a private house in the back of the yard. At the time everything went down, I was in the backyard of a gated house, and they pulled everyone out onto the road, which is now public property, and arrested me for public intox. So I see what happened. Like they were trying to control the party, prove a point, whatever. But long story short, we had a great time. It was a great party, but in this entire time, Taylor has no idea what's going on.
Yes. So
when did you find out? I actually went to jail?
My perspective, I go to this other frat party, which it turns out it was the rival, and he was actually, you were mad at me for going to that party because you had a horrible night. But in my perspective, I'm like, okay, I was supposed to get a text to come. I never got a text to come. Then I found out that the party was happening, and I just wasn't getting a text from you, and so I was like, whatever. And I go to this other party, and then we go back to the dorms, and I'm just hanging out with my girls all night, and I am just so frustrated. And I'm like, okay, his first night, and he spends it completely without me, doesn't ever message me. I knew the party happened and just never got a text from you. So I was like, I don't know what happened last night. And I'm pretty sure I found out because you called me after you got out of jail and told me that you went to jail.
That's right.
And that's how I found out.
Yep. And I remember that because I called you on the way home.
And then I was like also frustrated at that. Mm-hmm. But then I think that I got over it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because I realized
it was a pretty shitty situation overall. But I think it's funny just looking back like that. That was a point where like, I guess that was a little bit of a roadblock or an obstacle that we came over, just a very simple one. Because like that was one of our, like we were both getting used to college together and unsure of like how it was going to go. And like, I mean, you know how it is, like, people when you're dating in high school, not a lot of people expect you to make it, like really they don't. So we already knew going into college, like this is going to be hard, like it's not going to be a simple journey, like we know we love each other, but I think like you're just kind of conditioned to think that, hey, this is going to be hard. So that was kind of like one of our first things. We're like, damn. I was mad because I'm in jail and you're just going on to parties, hanging out at parties and partying on and stuff, like from my perspective. But you had no idea. You didn't know I was in jail. You didn't know where I was at. Like, you just assumed I was MIA and partying my ass off, too. So
yeah, and just ignoring me.
Yeah, which I would have been upset about, too. So
it's crazy because it's just the power of perspective.
Yeah.
From my perspective, I was mad at you for blowing me off. But in your perspective, I was not. I was kind of blowing you off. And also, because, I mean, maybe if I did just show up to this party, that I could have prevented that situation from happening because I would have been much more sober and been like, hey, let's get out of here. Potentially, but I don't know. I think everything, like we always talk about, everything happens for a reason. And I feel like it must have not have been that bad because I don't remember like us fighting about it.
No.
It was just that night was frustrating, but
yeah, we kind of got over it. We've laughed
once
about
we
it.
kind of explained what our perspectives were, we kind of were like, oh yeah, I get it. It's been cool to go through different phases of life. Like, we kind of were reminiscing on high school in the previous like podcast style episode that we did, but even college, like, there's so many stories. We have a story where I threw Jeff a surprise birthday party that we never made it to.
We got too drunk to get to. That's a great story too. We'll have to tell that one.
Oh yeah, there's so
my
many
brother's also
stories.
Involved in that one. My older brother.
Yeah, he
always shows up at the right times.
A question that I get often is, how did we know? Because if you're thinking about whether, you are currently in college and you're thinking about what the heck do I want to do with my life, or even as an adult, I mean, there's moments where you aren't really happy or passionate about what you're doing. And how do you figure that out? If making that transition from college to career is something that I feel like a lot of people struggle with, and just figuring out your like place in the world and your purpose. We have a very unique situation where we went to high school together, we went to college together, and now we're building our careers together. Even though we've done a lot of our life together, individual perspective and outlook on how we've gotten to this point. So I figured each of us could speak a little bit on how we went from just having fun in college to building our careers, and what made you decide to go in the direction that you went in, and also how did you know that's what you wanted to do?
I'm going to be just very honest with this, because I feel like this is something I've tried to figure out for a long time, and the truth is I still don't have it figured out.
Yeah.
The reality is that the one thing that has gotten me and both of us, I believe, to where we are is that we have continued to just trust our gut on what we love. We're relentless on trying to pursue the things that we love. When I was in high school, that was when I first started, and that's where I fell in love with fitness for the first time. Being an athlete, training, off season, stuff like that. Like, I didn't take it serious, but once I started to do it more and more often, took it serious, fell in love with it, started getting results, and was like, wow, fitness is incredible. I personally think it changed, it saved my life. So, fell in love with it at an early age, but going into college, it's like, back then there wasn't a lot of opportunity to build a career around fitness unless you wanted to be like a personal trainer, and still, like, that wasn't a very successful, in most people's eyes, that wasn't a successful job at the time.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of like an entry level job or something. So we were kind of falling to the societal norm of like, hey, you got to go to college, got to get a degree, you got to go work in a corporate office and work 9 to 5. It never felt right. But I also, I wanted to have a family someday. I wanted to marry Taylor, and I knew that if I ever wanted to get to that point, I had to be financially secure. I had to, grow up and get the retirement, get the health insurance, and do these things that help you with establishing a family. Going into college, my goal was to go to like physical therapy, get a physical therapy degree. That's kind of where it started, because like that was something that was still related to fitness, but was something that I could go to school, get a degree, and make, decent income and build off of down the road. It still didn't feel right. And I remember being in college and, getting, teased and made fun of for posting about fitness on Facebook and stuff at the time. Things like that, like posting workout pictures, posting workout videos, and like things just weren't, that stuff wasn't cool back then, right? Which I love that we're in this, era now where it is cool. It's like you're supporting one another. You're not making fun of people for posting their results. So that was kind of like another stab wound of like, all right, well, maybe this isn't a job. Maybe this isn't something that you can do full time. Maybe I need to grow up and get a real job. And that's where, kind of that mindset I ended up getting a pretty good, career early on in life at like 23, where I was a manager of a supplement store. And I was like, oh, cool. This is something I can build a career in. The guys there were telling me like, you can move up into a regional manager and make, $80,000-$100,000 a year. Ended up stopping that, and then, dropped out of college and went on to go into law enforcement, because it was something that was respectable. It was honorable. I wanted to serve and help people. I've always wanted to help people change their life. And for me, I thought that if I could reach, a generation of kids that were similar to me, that made mistakes, messed up, and were a little rebellious, that I could keep them out of trouble, keep them, and that was kind of my thought and intent going into law enforcement, is I'll still be able to help people. And I did. I loved it. It was great. It was fun. But it did end up getting me the retirement, the health insurance, all the things that, you think that you need to be successful and start a family and all that stuff. But it just didn't completely fulfill me here. I still felt like I was going to work, like I just was doing a job a lot of times. And that's very dangerous if you're in that position in law enforcement. That's something that you need to be very invested in, and you can't be complacent, because it could cost someone their life or you your life. And that's, that was something that ate at me quite a bit. During that time frame, we kind of made that decision that we don't really care how much money we make. We don't really care what life looks like. Like, we're going to figure it out we know at this point in time, we had been together long enough to know, like, we are the type of people that are just going to get it figured out. We're going to make it work.
Yeah.
So we realized that while I'm still in law enforcement, making decent money, have the benefits, have the things, like, let's go all in on fitness. Let's try to build something with the fitness side of things.
Yep.
And so the reason I kind of go through that whole process, because if you notice the correlation from everything that I've done through, high school to now, fitness has always been the foundation of it. It's something that I've never stopped doing from, 16, 17 years old to almost 30 years old. Yep. It's always been the thing that fulfills me, that I get enjoyment out of, that I'm happy to share. I'm excited to tell stories about. I'm excited to teach about. So I think that if you have that thing, whatever it is for you, a lot of times society can pressure you into going a different direction because there's no money in that, or there's, that's not a real job. I can't tell you how many times that we heard, you can't build a career in fitness. What about retirement? What about where you're going to get health benefits and things like that? Like, if you really love it and you want to do it, you will, and you'll figure it out. And I feel like that's a big part of, for us, like, whatever that thing is for you, that for us, I guess maybe we're blessed to have just known the whole time. Without really knowing, we knew fitness was helping people with nutrition. And fitness was something we've always been passionate about and just always fell in love with from the day one.
But I was trying to figure out, like, what do I do with my life to now, like, building and establishing my career, being an online trainer and, like, doing all this stuff. Like, it didn't really exist when we were growing up, but I remember being a young kid and I would see how being overweight really affected multiple areas of your life. So an example was my mom, for example. She was overweight and she would try to sell her wraps and teas and all these different things. And she would, obviously those things didn't work because no one actually took the time to help her. And because of that and not being able to learn and develop, she thought something was just wrong with her. But because she was overweight, that affected her self-confidence, her self-worth. From a young age, recognized how much building your confidence and self-worth and self-esteem stem from living a fit and healthy lifestyle. Because if you can develop that core foundation in that area of your life, it bleeds into all of other areas. And I recognize that. And really the moment that I knew I wanted to help people with fitness is when we were watching the show The Biggest Loser. Trainers on there, they would push these people and teach these people and, and they'd be like, so passionate about what they were doing, and then they'd sit down and have these heartfelt conversations and teaching the mindset. And I saw how the transformers in the show would completely evolve into more confident, happier, healthier people with more energy and just a better overall life. And then they would be reintroduced with their families, and then they would come back and talk about how it, like, after they left the show, how much it really changed, every aspect of their life. So I started piecing this together since I was a young kid. But again, people told me, oh, you can't do that, like, around here. There's not many gyms. There's not much opportunity. Again, the online thing really wasn't an option back then. Well, maybe I should be a coach, like in sports. Maybe I should be a physical therapist. Maybe I should be this or that or whatever it might be. But every time I tried to come up with a new career, nothing felt right. And finally, around the same time as Jeff, we just decided we're just going to figure out a way to make this work, because at the end of the day, we will always figure out how to make money. And we did not have a lot of money when we were, first starting out. I mean, we did not have much at all. And that we could talk about a million different stories in that direction. But really, money has never been the thing that we've chased. We've never chased money. That's not been the thing that gets us up and going. It's truly helping people and feeling fulfilled and happy in our own lives. Like, that's something else. Is I was like, man, as I was growing up, I did not want to just go and work a job just to get off at 5 p.m. and then, like, be free for a couple of hours and then dread going back to work and live for the nights and the weekends. I thought that was torture, because I was like, I want to enjoy my life. I want to, and of course, no matter what job you do, there's going to be things you don't like about it. There's going to be challenges. So you're not going to love every moment. And that's not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm saying is I wanted to feel a sense of passion and fulfillment. And that's what I've always chased. No matter what I do, I will always chase that and impact and helping people, just like Jeff said. And so when we were doing this, and when we were in college, around the same time, Jeff and I both we were kind of like, I mean, we were maybe a year away from graduating, and we were
Mhm.
both like,
We're
let's
done.
go chase our dreams. Let's go figure it out. And so neither one of us actually graduated from college. We just, my junior year, we stopped going, and we were like, all right, let's go figure it out. And so we moved. We just got the jobs we needed to get while we were building the life we wanted.
Well,
So,
we at that point we left and didn't really have any like steady jobs. I remember that's when I kind of got into the I literally pushed a broom for a construction company at one
oh
point, and
yeah,
it was horrible, right? Like one
yeah.
of the worst jobs I ever had because it was freezing cold. Like all day long, you're just pushing brooms on this big concrete building with no walls. Saved up enough money to invest in like personal training certifications, and
Yep.
even though we didn't, everyone was saying like there's no goal, there's no options there, there's no careers there. Like we were just still adamant on pursuing it little by little by little, like one step at a time. We're taking our free time, hours and hours of it just to learn about things that have nothing to do with the actual degree we're trying to get. It was more so of just the things that we were passionate about. We just continuously had this craving to learn more about it. And I think that's maybe a good indicator too. Like, what are the things that, if you're trying to figure
You
out yourself,
enjoy learning. Yeah.
yeah, what are the things that you enjoy learning about? What are the things that captivate you? If you're reading a book about psychology and that's something that you love, okay, cool. Think about like what is it about it that you love? Is that where your passion is? Like, find what you enjoy learning about, and that'll give you a little bit of an indicator on, what you're passionate about.
This is something I've always been like passionate about too, is helping people uncover their potential. Because I think that's really a huge thing, is people just truly don't understand their potential. And even I don't fully understand my own potential, but I know that I believe so wholeheartedly in myself and the people around me that you can do way more than you think you can do. And it's all about figuring out what drives you, what fulfills you, what inspires you, and keep chasing that. And it does not happen overnight. You have to be willing to make sacrifices, to reinvest, to keep pursuing things over and over and over, even when you feel like you reach a dead end. Okay, well, take the lessons that you learned and keep applying it in a different direction, and just keep going, keep learning from your mistakes, taking those losses or those failures, and saying, okay, what is the lesson in this struggle? What new perspective have I gained? Instead of saying like, oh, here's another obstacle, it's another opportunity to learn something new and to gain confidence in yourself that you are able to overcome those obstacles and you're able to hit whatever comes at you face on and know that you can move past it, because that every obstacle is an opportunity to learn something new. Girls that would come up to me and they would say they want to go to the gym with me, and like teaching them how to exercise, teaching them about nutrition. I mean, it lit me up. So think about when you're having conversations, where do your conversations naturally go? What do you light up when you talk about that thing? And keep investing into that, and remind yourself the world is constantly evolving and ever changing, and you don't even know the opportunities that will exist, but you have to start developing those skills now.
Yep.
You have to start developing yourself now, because when that opportunity does present itself, you're going to be ready, or you're going to be at least moving in the right direction. And I also think that how the universe works and law of attraction and all these things, like once you start putting it out there and start moving in that direction, everything will start aligning more in that direction. What you focus on, the world will give you more of.
Bam.
So we leave college, and now I'm working. I decided to get a job at a bank, and I was like, oh, I'm only going to be here for 6 months tops. We had to move back in with my parents, and we would drive an hour to go to these jobs that, I mean, I do not like to like dress up, wear slacks, all this stuff. But I sucked it up and I did it because we needed to pay our bills, and we needed to eventually, get an apartment and all this stuff. So, we got jobs that we didn't like. And on the side, I mean, I would get up and I would train people in the morning and teach a boot camp. We got our, like Jeff said, we saved up and we got our certifications so that we could start helping people with health and fitness on the side, making little to no money. We started posting on social media because we saw the opportunity to build our brands, and we had no idea what we were doing. And honestly, looking back, a lot of it's so cringy, but I'm sure I'll look back at our content now and think the same thing.
Yeah.
But
we started,
and you have to be willing to put yourself out there, and you have to be willing to suck a little bit to get good. You cannot let the idea of perfect hold you back from getting good. You have to be willing to go. You have to be willing to try. You have to be willing to learn. And by doing that, you're going to get closer and closer and closer to what you are meant to be and to your potential, because you're going to learn, you're going to evolve. And it's just like anything else. Think about fitness. You could watch a video on how to do a squat a million times, but until you go and get underneath that barbell and put it on your back and squat down yourself, you're never going to know what it feels like, and you're never going to know how to improve.
Right.
So whatever it is that you're wanting to do, like, it doesn't, there's no perfect game plan. There doesn't even have to be a specific, like, okay, at the time, we didn't know what social media would turn into and the opportunities for, online training and all that could be. And we didn't know, like, First Form, I didn't even know what First Form was, which is the company that we both work for right now and have built careers for the last internally at the headquarters for the last 5 years, but we've been with this company for 6-7 years now. And that didn't even exist in our minds when we were first starting to do this. But again, once you start putting yourself out there, you're going to start finding people that think like you and start aligning with you. You're going to be developing skills for these opportunities that are coming that don't even exist yet.
Right. I think that's a really important point of just, doing the things that you care about, passionate about, that fulfill you right now. And I truly believe that if you stay consistent with those things, that the opportunity will develop. When you're faced with adversity, that is a test of your commitment to your goal. Because if you give up now, then you didn't really want it, right? Yeah. So it's time for you to move on and find what you really wanted, right? But every time you can persist through an obstacle, that's just a validation to you and to the universe that, okay, this person was willing to stick it out through this hard time. These 6 months of this happened, and they're still chasing it. They're still going strong. They got knocked down. They got back up. They're still going after what they truly believe in. They really want it. They passed this test, right? So every time I feel, adversity, or we have obstacles, we have things that are, getting in our way or upsetting us or putting us down, I'm just thinking, okay, cool. There's another opportunity in life I get to show my grit, to show my endurance and my ability to keep going after what I want to get out of my life. So keep that in mind when you're, and a secondary piece to that, this is something I say all the time as well, that to find out what you want, you also have to decide what you don't want. And that's something I know a lot of people will wait to just, I'm not going to get this job because it's not the one that I want. I'm not going to go here and do this because it's not what I want to do with my life yet. Okay, well, I did a lot of jobs before I got to the job that I have now that I genuinely love and that I feel fulfillment from. Dozens of different jobs. And the thing with all of those things is the same concept of adversity and obstacles. Adversity and obstacles are going to knock you off the path if you're not meant to be on that path. Same thing with those jobs. The reason I left law enforcement wasn't because I hated being a cop. It was just that it wasn't what was fulfilling to me. Mm-hmm. That was a message. That was something that I wanted to do, but realized that wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't the actual career that I wanted. So I found a way to get to the spot that I wanted to. So, the broom pushing job that I had sucked. It was miserable, but I paid my bills. And me being able to continue to pay my bills got me to get another job. That job taught me something. And every single job that I've had has taught me a lesson that applies directly to the job that I have right now. Mm-hmm. Corrections taught me a lot about handling confrontation, being able to manage people. Like, those are both huge things that I learned. The freaking broom sweeping job taught me patience and endurance.
And grit.
Yeah, like, okay, cool. This sucks really, really bad, but I have to do it because my future relies on it. Yep. And I think if you can always focus, this is something I used to get stuck in a lot. If you can focus on the process and what that process will deliver, not what it's delivering you right now. So often we get so sucked into this instant gratification of, well, I work this job for 3 months and I'm not getting promoted, or I'm not making the money I want, or I've been at this job for a year and I'm not promoted, I'm not making the money I want. Mm. Okay, well, stick it out for 5 years. Like, that's where commitment, and the people, anyone that is genuinely successful, and we've got the opportunity to meet extremely successful people that have built their careers, Andy Frisella being someone that we've learned, bookfuls of information about at this point. And, this exact thing is something that he says all the time as well. Like, he's been doing what he's doing for over 25 years. Yep. That's fucking incredible. Right? The grit, the consistency, the endurance, the belief in the mission that he has instilled in himself to be able to commit to something for 25 years. Most people have a hard time committing to anything for 25 days.
Well, and that reminds me of the quote. Most of the time, you overestimate what you can do in 3 to 5 months and underestimate what you can do in 3 to 5 years.
Facts.
And I loved what you said about whenever you're faced with adversity and if you keep going, if you really want something, you will figure out a way to get it. And guess what? I don't care how perfect your game plan is, how prepared you are, how whatever, you're going to face obstacles.
Facts.
You're going to face adversity. You're going to have setbacks. The situation isn't going to be ideal. And most of the time, you're going to have to do it on top of things you don't want to do. You're going to have to do the things you don't want to do and then build what you want to build on top of it.
Right. The things that got us here, we were doing on top of our full-time jobs.
Correct.
Like when we were in college was our primary focus. Going to school at that point was our full-time job, but we still had jobs outside of that, part-time jobs and things like that. But we still prioritized time outside of those two events of school and work to get into the net lab, do research, go to the gym, help some of our friends in the gym. Those things
we did all that for free.
At that time, looking back, we had no idea how to really help people, but our friends needed our help, and we were just trying to figure it out. Okay,
well, we knew a little bit more than them.
Right, because we had experience.
Right.
But that in that moment, what did that teach us? That taught us that we needed to learn more about how to help other people other than just ourselves. We can get ourselves results, but these other people need us to help them get them results, and it's different. Getting yourself results isn't the exact same thing as getting you results, right? Or getting them results. So in those moments, we were investing hours in the gym, hours in the net lab, learning, reading, on top of our job. When we got into law enforcement, we became, affiliates with First Form. And every single thing that we did to get to where we got with that company, where we became successful there, we did on top of your bank job, on top of me being a police officer. The free time. We spent hours at the gym for free, helping people day in, day out, teaching them how to squat, teaching them how to use machines, teaching them how to exercise, teaching them about nutrition, all for free.
Yep.
And then the door opened and we got an opportunity to do it and get paid for it.
Just because you love it doesn't mean it's not going to be scary and uncomfortable. Because how many times have we done things that are completely outside of our comfort zone, including talking on camera?
About to say, you're looking at it.
If you really want to build something incredible for yourself, you're going to have to get uncomfortable. You're going to have to do things that scare you. You're going to have to push yourself consistently. It doesn't matter how long we've been doing this. We consistently challenge ourselves and push ourselves to learn more skills, get more uncomfortable, do hard things, because we know that's going to help us develop, help more people too. Yeah. As you're trying to figure out your place in the world and what your purpose is and what you're meant to do, that is going to evolve with you. And that is also okay. That's a good point. What you care about is going to change as you grow and evolve. But it's always important that you're moving in that right direction. Also, always making sure that your character is never compromised in the process, because when people chase success, sometimes it's easy to get caught up in, okay, well, I just want to win and I'm competitive and I'll do whatever it takes to win. But truly, the relationships with people, the impact you have the opportunity to make, your character, how people are going to remember you, those things will help you be more successful than anything.
Yeah.
And that's one of the coolest things, is being successful is awesome. Mm-hmm. And seeing some success has been amazing, but we want to bring people with us.
Yeah.
We want to develop a community of people that want to be better, that want to learn, that are just trying to figure out life. But also that's why we want to also tell funny stories, because again, life is hard. And if we can just hang out, laugh, learn together, have fun, that means more to us than anything.
So if there's ever anything that you learn from one of our videos and it does help you in any way, if you could really help us out and just share that with a friend, send that to someone that you know could use it and it could benefit them. Because for us to get where we want to go with this, it's going to take more than just us recording videos. Like, we're going to have to put our heart into it and teach and educate and show you guys the failures and the things that we haven't done correctly and be completely authentic with that. But it's also going to play a role in you guys helping us too, by just supporting us with the shares and the comments and the things that, you guys are already really doing a lot of and helping us out. Like, it genuinely means so much to us. Yeah. Every single comment, every single share, every time you guys tell us in person when you see us and you say, hey, keep doing the videos. Like, for That's us, cool. We have doubt too. We're like, all right, do people like it? Is it really helping people? Is anyone taking anything away from it? And we have that self-doubt. So every time you guys tell us that you like the video or you share it or whatever, it literally gives us so much fire. It just really re-energizes us. So thank you for all the support so far. Seriously, it means the world to us, but we got a long way to go. And we're going to need a lot of horsepower within this. And I promise you guys, we're going to continue to commit and go all in on it and give it everything we got.
If you haven't picked up on the fact that we are relentless, we refuse to quit. We refuse to give up very easily. If there's any questions that you want us to cover, comment whatever question that you have, and we will do our best to answer as many as we can in these upcoming videos. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like, comment. We absolutely love to see those comments, and share this with a friend that you think could benefit from this as well. And we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Nailed it.
Yeah, yeah. Rock your body right.